Let's go.
Hola, hello. Hello, everybody. I've just come from the Spanish session, so I was almost going to break into Spanish, but I stopped myself. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? Good evening and welcome to the Macmillan Education Advancing Futures Through Inclusion Festival. We're delighted you could join us here today, this evening. We've got a wonderful session with Myriam Monterrubio, whom I'm asked now to join me on stage. Good evening, good afternoon, Myriam. How are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm so happy to be here again.
Oh.
Well, not again because this is the first time, but
Well,
I'm very
we've
happy
seen
to be
each other
here.
a few times over the last couple of days, so it does feel like, yeah,
Exactly.
again, but
Exactly.
a real pleasure. It's always a pleasure to work with you. I see people are writing in the chat saying good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Louise Connolly, just so I'll introduce myself. You can see my name, but I'm the person responsible for organizing events and teacher training at Macmillan Education. And Myriam Monterrubio is our special guest and speaker this afternoon. I'm based in Barcelona. Myriam, where are you?
I'm in Seville. I live
Seville.
in Seville, yeah.
Okay. People, do tell us where you're from, because I know that there are people from all over the country. This is online. I'm sure you're from north, south, central, lots of places. So do keep coming through in the chat with your hellos and where you're from. Fantastic. And I just want to mention a couple of kind of housekeeping points. The people out there, you've got your camera and your mic turned off, but you can use the chat, and please keep doing that and send questions if you have them as we go through the presentation. Myriam loves to interact with people, and we'll be keeping an eye on that. We'll also dedicate maybe a couple of minutes, not too much at the end because it's not a long session. And we're also going to launch a feedback questionnaire at the end, because your opinion is very, very important. Enough from me. I'm not going to say much about Myriam. She'll speak for herself. But all I can say is I'm really, really excited about this session, which is aimed at primary teachers and focusing on universal design. All yours, Myriam.
Thank you very much, Louise. Well, I am very, very happy. Let me just, I am so happy to be here with you guys. I'm looking at all these chats, these messages. So you're from Valencia, Málaga, Magdalena. Thank you for what you were saying. Thank you very much. I'm very happy and I'm very honored to be here in this incredible event. Right. So let me just share my screen, so that we can start, like from the very beginning, like, so yes, let me introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Myriam Monterrubio, and I've been a teacher for quite a long time right now. And let me just change the chat right here. Yes, very good. So I'm very happy to be here with you. And it is something that I've been attending to the sessions yesterday morning and today, well, yesterday afternoon, today in the morning. And something that I really, really loved is that I have one of the words that are not allowed in these type of sessions is impossible. I really, really love it. And I think that one of my favorite things about my job is that no matter how many years you have of experience, we are always learning. And we're always learning from our peers and our students. So it's always the learning thing. So the word impossible does not exist now, right? Learning is possible only if we believe in our students that they can learn. And of course, if we believe in our methods and approaches to teaching the language, right? I know that teaching English to little kids, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, okay? They're not that little, they're in first grade. They know how to do things, right? So something Gorka said yesterday, and I really, it was like a wake-up call for me, is that he said, no hay marcha atrás, no puede haber barreras para enseñar. This is exactly what he said. He says, there's no turning back. There cannot be barriers to teaching, right? So he's absolutely right. We cannot go back to the way we used to teach. The world has changed. Our students have changed, and so must we. I've been a teacher for more than 40 years. And if I started teaching exactly the same way that I started teaching 40 years ago, everybody would, throw tomatoes at me, right? So today we're going to explore how we can design our lessons so that every student has a chance to succeed. Let's start with some thoughts I often hear from teachers, because you know that sometimes when we say, well, we have to design for all, and we have to work in inclusion and everything, that I know that a teacher, what happens with teachers is that we have a lot of work to do. And if you thought that being a teacher was just to be in the class from 8 to 2, and you didn't do anything in the afternoon, you were very wrong. Little did you know that being a teacher is a full-time job, right? So when we start, talking about these topics, sometimes there are misconceptions. So if you say designing for all, my goodness, so what does designing for all mean? So maybe sometimes for some teachers, it means preparing different activities for each student. And if I have kids who are a little bit active, or these kids with autism, or this, so I will have to decide and plan different activities for every kid, right? Some other teachers might say, no, I don't have the time to create a separate lesson plan for every student. I can't do it. Inclusion is another way to say I have to do extra work, and of course, without any extra support. And these thoughts in our minds going like, my goodness, I already have a lot of work. So something which is very difficult for the teachers is that planning, it's not that you only have one class. If you're an English teacher, you might be teaching at 9 o'clock at first grade and at 10 o'clock sixth grade. So you have lots and lots of kids. So let me tell you something. Designing for all is not what we think, right? First of all, I have to confess that I am an ADHD teacher. Really, I really suffer from deficit disorder and very hyperactive. Even my daughter says that I am a radioactive squirrel, and honestly, I can't even argue with that, because I'm always, this and this and this, right? So when I realized that I had this condition, it was something that struck me. It was like, now I know why I have to walk around to learn. I have to move and draw in order to learn, to teach, and even make sense of a world around me. So it's very difficult for a person to understand that it's something that that you're just born with it, right? So when I was young, and I have to tell you this, because that's why you will understand why is it that I am as I am. When I was young and I had to study, I would take my notes. I would walk around the house with my notes in hand, singing them out loud, or even rapping the content that I had to learn. That I had to memorize, because a long time ago, teachers just made you memorize the content that they gave you, right? And it was really difficult, because my mother thought that I was playing instead of studying. But I can still even remember the music of the sentences that I had to learn. I remember perfectly when I was studying about Christopher Columbus, and I remember that. Imagine that I was just reading my notes, and I was like, Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. When in 14. So imagine, so if, of course, if your mother looks at you going like, really, what are you doing? Please go and study, right? So it is very difficult to start, to start understanding that what you're doing is not incorrect, okay? So it is very likely that as teachers, we teach the way we learn or the way we like to learn. So when I first heard the universe designed for learning, for me was like, wow, I wanted to understand where this idea came from, right? So UD comes from architecture. And the term was coined by architect Ronan Mays. For me, it is very important because when I talk to parents and I say, well, this is the way that we teach, and this is the way that we're, like, that we're having the class with your kids. Sometimes they don't understand that you are singing all the time and that you are playing because they have a nice time in your class, right? So it is very important for us to understand that this is not something that came into my mind and it was like that, right? So what is universal design? Just take a look at this picture. Okay, when we look at this picture, these are curve cuts. So when you see that picture, what comes to your mind? Why do you think that some architect invented these curve cuts? And now it's for you time to say something in the chat, because otherwise I will think that you are sleeping, and that's not okay. So tell me, when you see this curve cut, what comes to your mind? Who is that for? Nobody is saying anything. Oh, very good. Inclusivity, very good. To make things easier. For who, Maria Angeles? This would be like to make things very good. Thought of people using wheelchairs. Could be, yeah. Because people reduce mobility. Very good. Adapting, inclusiveness. I love those terms because those terms are exactly what we really need to think about for people who have disability. But guess what? Who uses these curve cuts? Everybody. It was not just done for them. When you are easier walking, exactly, Encarna. Sometimes when you are, like carrying your bag, your suitcase from the train station, and you're all the way in the street, and then you go down on these very nice cut curves, right? Curve cut. So these are not just for wheelchairs, and these are not just for people who have a disability. They are for parents with strollers, for bikers, for people who deliver. So this is just for everybody. That's why it's universal design. Think about this, Elena, exactly for everybody. It's not just for wheelchairs, right? And yes, for me, I prefer to use that rather than step. Now, think about the automatic doors. It's exactly the same. If you think, you say, well, maybe for people who are again using wheelchairs, it's easier because they just go right there and then the door opens. But what happens when you are with lots of bags that you shop the whole supermarket and then you're walking and you cannot open the doors. So immediately you have automatic doors. So this is really nice. So universal design creates access from the start. So it's like, okay, this is for everybody. It's not just for this type of people. This is for everybody. And as it was thought from the very start, there are no patching it later, right? So let's look the definition of universal design. Universal design is a concept that focuses on creating environments, and I just want to pinpoint the words who are highlighted or a little bit bigger, right? It's a concept that focuses on creating environments, products, and experiences that are accessible, usable, and beneficial to all, not just for the kids who are a little bit who get to our goal a little bit slower. No, this is for everybody, right? Regardless of their abilities, disabilities, age, or background. it ensures, I love that word, it ensures that everyone can interact with and benefit from a design without needing adaptations or specialized modifications. So what is that telling us? When of course, when we think about universal design in terms of architecture, you can see, I mean, you can think about subtitles, you can think about even Spotify. You have the lyrics to the songs that you want to sing. I remember when we had cassettes, maybe some of you don't even know what a cassette is, but we had a cassette and then you had to play it and then you have to just go backwards and then forwards too, and you had to listen to the song like a million times, right? Nowadays, we have Spotify, and it gives you the lyrics, and then you can actually sing the song, right? Now, Angeles, something that you're saying is very important. It doesn't make less challenging for some students. Remember that challenge is very important, and then as teachers, because this is a universal design in architecture, this for teachers, it's something really, it's not that different, but it's something that requires to challenge our kids, to give our kids more than just English classes, right? So then came this guy, David Rose, and with this in mind, David Rose, who is a neuropsychologist and educator who specializes in how the brain learns and how teaching can adapt to meet all the needs of the learners, then he came up with this term, universal design for learning. And look, very simple in a nutshell, universal design for learning is a way of thinking about teaching and learning that helps give all students an equal opportunity to succeed. It doesn't mean that you're going to make things easier. What it means is that you're going to make things differently, okay? Because sometimes we have, I mean, when you are, sometimes I ask teachers how many years they've had, you know, they've been teaching, and some teachers would say, well, 25 years, 50 years, 15 years, 5 years, whatever. And something is, when you are an experienced teacher, means that you are going to do things in different ways, and of course, understanding the students that you are having each generation, right? But because if you do exactly the same thing for lots of years, then you're not an experienced teacher. You do exactly the same things for a number of years, right? So where do you establish the minimums between inclusion and basic concepts? That's a very difficult task, but as everybody's saying, it's not impossible. It all depends on the teacher. Here, we are responsible for doing that. So I don't know if some of you know me, but for those of you who know me, you know that I have two questions, two very important questions, and they are my favorite, that we have to ask before we plan a class, before we design a class for our students. And those questions would be, let's see if somebody knows the questions. I don't know, but maybe you do. No, one of the questions that I always do. When I was in Madrid in Beda thing, I said that question, and some of you said that you were there. So let's see if you remember. Well, the first question, very important, and every time that the teacher says, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? There are two types of teachers. The teachers that say, what am I going to give tomorrow? What am I going to teach tomorrow? Or my favorite question, which is, what do I want my pupils to learn? It's not what topic I am going to teach, but it's what do I want my students to learn? Now, that's a very challenging thing, because one thing is to give a topic, and another thing would be to be very sure that what you're teaching is going to be learned by your students. So the second question would be, what and how will my pupils produce what they learned? That means that how are they going to produce what I taught, right? So first question, what do I want my students to, my pupils to learn? And what do I want students to produce? Number one, we're English teachers, so we really want our students to produce the language. And if you are a mathematician, a mathematic teacher, you want your students to produce, a product, right? So between these two questions, we have more questions, okay? The other question would be, what challenges will they face with the topic that I want them to learn, that they will learn? Something important is that I am not a native, I'm not a native speaker. My first language is Spanish, and I learned English. So there were lots of challenges for me to learn English. And one of the most important challenges was that the language that I was going to learn is not the same as Spanish. Because if you read the word mesa, you have the word mesa, it says mesa. But if you want to say table, that means that it's table. So what happens? So in my head, it was like, what's going on? And my teacher used to say, listen, this is the alphabet. A as in apple, E as in elephant, I as in Indian. So it's like, really? I mean, so those are, first of all, that's the challenge, the language itself, the way that it's written and the way that it's produced, right? Pronounced. Second thing, will there be any barriers? And I know the barriers that I have been, like living in these years that I've visited schools. In every single school that I have visited, there is a huge barrier, and this huge barrier is Spanish. Teachers translating because they think that the kids are not understanding, and therefore they have to give the English class in Spanish. So that's a huge barrier. And the teacher must, kick that barrier and say, no more translating. Of course, when you do not translate, there's lots of energy that you have to use to get your students understanding, right? So another question. How can I engage everybody? How can I actually get my students motivated? Because nowadays, our students have this attention span of a TikTok. So they have TikTok attention span. It's like 3 minutes and then next, and 3 minutes and then next. So there are some of our activities that they don't last 3 minutes. They have to last a little bit more. So where do you actually see the answer? Well, the answer is very easy. Look, beautiful. The answer is here. Question, what do I want my students to learn? Then you see, okay, I have topics, right? So are you curious what's in your classroom? The pets, but read the titles. It's not just animals, pets, or school objects. It's something that it will give you a context, right? So here you can see the overall of the topic you have to teach, like what vocabulary you have to teach, what structures you have to teach, the pronunciation, and how you can have a mixture of interdisciplinary subjects, right? So this is like an overall. But if we focus on one of the the units, maybe, for example, I chose this because it's one of my favorite topics, which is pets, okay? So, but listen here, where, I know that there are very little the letters, but where do pets live? It's not just pets. It gives you like, what is it that I want my students to learn from when they look at pets, right? So it's where they live, right? And in very nice words, it says, identify and say the pets. That means that you identify the animal, and then you're going to be able to say the word. Identify and say which pets you've got. Now you have another structure. I've got a pet. I've got a dog. I've got a snake. In my case, my pet was a snake. So imagine I had in my house, we had two boa constrictor. And you know that my last name is Monterrubio. Well, my friends called me Monsterrubio. It was like Monsterrubio family. Yeah, two snakes, Luis. They were too big, two boa constrictors. So I had my pets. And when I started teaching, I asked for permission in the school that I was working to have a little snake, and they said yes. So we had a little pet snake, and its name was Snakey. So as you can see here, it goes beyond. It's learn how to ask about people's favorite pets. Ask about and identify pets by their description. See, so it's not just saying the animals or the pets. It goes beyond. It goes beyond. So it's like you want your students to be able to describe what they have, what they don't like, if they have favorite animals, etc. So let's take a look at the universal design for learning key features, right? So this is what this is telling us. Okay, look at this, and this is how you would give a class, right? So 3 steps. Representation. We know that our students receive information in different ways, right? We have the visuals, the auditory, they have learning preferences, right? Then we have expression, meaning that the students are going to express the way that they learned, right? And something that is really, really nice is that there are different ways of expressing what they learned. They can draw. Today, the talk of Fernand, I think it was incredible the way that a drawing can make meaning in our students' life, right? So what happens here is that this is very simple, and I know that it is not new for you, but it's something that we are in April, well, actually March, but little by little, you know that the months come a little bit, and then you go like, oh my goodness, I am more tired because it's May, I am more tired because it's June. Well, in this case, we have to recap and see that we have to go back to basics, right? And then the third key, well, is engagement. So it's like, I have to teach in different ways. I want my students to express what they know in different ways, and I really want to have my students motivated. And something important here is I must have a flexible learning environment. And when I talk about flexible learning environment, it's not just having very new um, chairs or something, right? It's like, give me a wall, and in that wall, I am going to put lots of things in that. So let's see. Let's do this little thing. When we start, presenting the vocabulary, when the teacher comes to the classroom, she or he usually doesn't say, open your books. What the teacher does is, okay, this is a preview of what we're going to teach. So imagine this, right? So in this case, we're going to teach with the flashcards, we're going to teach the animals. There are lots of ways to teach animals and to make the students repeat, right? But what about if you bring a ball with you? I don't have a ball here because otherwise I would do it. And then you say, okay, look at the ball, and every time that the ball bounces on the flashcard, you're going to repeat the word. So ready? Okay, number 1, 1, 2, 3. Dog, 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 dog. Ooh, very good. So the kids are actually looking at the ball, repeating the word, and then it's a very different way of repeating the word, right? Another one, now a little bit faster, okay? Fish, 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 fish. And with the ball, it's really cool because you're actually throwing the ball, bouncing the ball, and the kids are going to want to have the ball and do it. Is there going to be noise? Of course. And they're going to be happy? Yes. And noise is okay. Now, you're not wasting time on doing this. You are investing the time to engage your students. And the last one, hamster, 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 okay? Now, this is a very simple way to start, presenting words. Maybe you can actually, instead of just saying the word, like fish, number 2, fish, number 3, cat. Instead of doing that, maybe you can actually work with TPR, something that I really love. So instead of saying just, okay, give me number 3, everybody will say cat. Okay, look and listen. It's a cat. It's a cat. Everybody repeat. It's a cat. It's a cat. And little by little, when you say, okay, number 5, what is it? And then maybe they say turtles, and you go like, oh, okay, it's a turtle. It's a very different way, and it's not, you don't have to do anything. The flashcards are done for you. The only thing that you have to do, of course, is you have to lose a little bit energy on TPRing. Okay, so then after doing this, look, they go into you say, okay, now open the book and let's see what is it what can you find? And of course here, there are 8 different activities. You don't have to think about, oh, well, but if I have to teach differently, how on earth am I going to do it? Look at the beginning of your lessons. Look, the first one says, watch, what can you see? And instead of saying cat, fish, use I can see a cat. And maybe you can actually give them a chant. I can see a cat. I can see a cat. A what? A cat. I can see a dog. See, little by little, you say, okay, here it says, what can you see? Say, I can see something. Then listen and say the chant. There is a chant that I won't be able to play it, but that you can actually give the chant. Stick the sticker. So see, it's not that the teacher has to invent everything. And the authors of every single book, something that I write books as well, and every time that I write the teacher's guide, I think about the teachers going like, I hope that the teachers do really read the teacher's guide, because there are lots of things that we want to share with you, right? So as you can see here, there are lots of things in only 2 pages that you can have. You have watch, sing, and act, listen, and find the pet. But what happens is that you keep on working like that, okay? It goes beyond. Let me just go a little bit further with this. In here, look, please open your minds and tell me what it is. Very quickly, because we don't have enough time. So tell me, what is it? Very good, Magdalena.
Myriam, I just want to
Perfect.
say you've got 5 minutes. Yeah,
I know.
more or less.
So I'm going to do it very quickly. This one, you, this one, he, this one, she. And so we have I, you, he, she, just picturing. If you know how to write, you know how to draw. This is exactly what Fernando said today in his workshop, right? And here, my, your, his, her. Why? Because I said so. Because I just give a little something for the kids, and they can do it. Now, what about this one? Can. And what about this one? Can't. So I can, you can, he can, she can. And if we talk about the animals, look, what does it say? A frog can jump. Very good. Excellent. And what does it say? Very good. Frogs can jump. Very good, Magdalena. Encarna, a frog can jump. Very good. And that one? A fish can swim. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. And then you give them these little exercises to your kids, and then little by little, they will be able to work on them. Look at the way that you can actually present the same topic. Okay. So there are lots of things that we can actually do with our students. Look, in this case, what does it say? I can see with my eyes. Very good. I can see with my eyes. Now look at all these drawings and then make your own sentences. Little by little, as I'm going to go very, very fast, little by little, we can see that there are lots of activities that are proposed for us. You don't have to think so much, right? In this case, for example, our kids are, our older kids, they are able to do things in different ways. For expression, it's like, okay, we talked about the people who work at night. Now let's make a report. This is the way to make your students express what they learned, right? So as you can see, there are lots of things that we can do. But the first thing is think big. If you want to do things differently, you can do things differently, and you will, okay? And then the second thing would be start small. Think big, start small. The first thing that you have to start is what? try to use a different activity. Then observe how students respond and make adjustments as needed. And finally, something which is very important is talk to your peers, share your ideas with other teachers and learn together. Because we know that even though we are teachers and experts in our subjects, we must always remain open to learning, especially from our students. They are often our greatest teachers. So thank you very much for staying, because I know that it's afternoon. So thank you very much for being here, and you know that we're here to help you. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Myriam. Can you just pass on to the next slide?
Sure.
Well, yeah. But before that's there on the screen, before we look at that, I just want to say, Myriam, you really got us to think big, but how accessible what you're saying and how doable. I mean, really, and you got us out of our seats. I felt like I was actually
I was looking at you going like,
I know.
I was actually looking at you going like, yeah.
I couldn't help it. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I really hope that
and a huge thanks to everybody out there for joining us, for all the comments in the chat, for just the happiness. You can feel it, no, from people out there. At least I can, and I'm sure you can as well. And don't worry, people, I'm going to put the link to the link for the feedback form now in the chat, because I do realize that maybe for some people the QR code might not work, or you don't like using QR codes. So to cater for diversity, I've put the link in the chat. Okay. We'd really welcome your feedback, and it's not just on this session, it's on your experience of this event, of this wonderful festival that started yesterday and will continue tomorrow. And you know, having somebody like Myriam with all her experience, classroom experience and teacher training experience, having that is just a real luxury. And so thank you so much. And I want to remind everybody, tomorrow we'll continue the festival. There's going to be an Academy Day in the morning from 11 to 1. So Academy Day for English teachers in private language schools and academies from 11 to 1. You can still join up if you wish. Go for it. I'm going to put the link to the festival now in the chat. Just give me a second. I'm going to find it. Okay. Where are we? Here we are. I've got a few. I'm multitasking, Myriam. I'm not sure if I'm doing it really well. It is the right link.
You are.
If you want to join us tomorrow from 11 to 1, please do, for the Private Language School Academy Day. And in the evening, we've more on inclusion, a roundtable discussion to finalize the festival, followed by a session aimed at pre-primary English with Yvonne Delorto. Might be of interest to you guys as well. See you then, and thank you everybody. And one last thanks, because often this person gets left out. Alvaro, our technician, thank you so much for a wonderful show tonight. Thank you. Thanks everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's go.